When I was 14, my parents divorced, and I decided to live with my mom. I chose her because my dad was a sociopath. He often called my mom Miss Piggy. When I told him my decision, he said, "Fine, but don't expect to ever see me again." That hurt bad, but I knew I made the right choice. Or maybe not. You see, my mom got a new boyfriend a few months after, and I didn't like him at all. The first time we met, he smiled and said, "Hey, how are you?" I tried to act friendly, but his smile was fake. I could see the evil behind it, and I could tell he was a bad person. He always stared at me, especially when my back was turned to him. It made me very uncomfortable, but that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted to scare me. And one day, the lock on my door was broken. I didn't have any proof, but I knew my stepdad did it. I was sure he wanted to come into my room at night. When I told my mom about it, she said, "I can't imagine he'd do that. He's always so nice. But I promise I'll keep an eye on him, and if he does anything bad to you, I'll break up with him." But I could tell she had no idea how evil he was. That night I woke up and there was a noise outside my door. Someone was standing out there. It was too dark to see him, but I knew my stepdad was peering through the lock at me. My heart was pounding so hard and I stayed awake for hours listening for more noises. But I didn't hear anything until sunrise. Then I heard him walking. He was pretending to be just passing by on the way to the kitchen, but I knew he'd been outside my door all night. When I went down to the kitchen, he said, "How did you sleep?" I didn't respond, so he continued, "Did I do anything to bother you?" I said, "No, you didn't." And he acted like he was confused, but I could see his smirk. He was happy he had scared me. He lived for that pleasure. I could see it in his eyes. I didn't tell my mom about it because she wouldn't believe me anyway. Meanwhile, my stepdad was slowly turning her against me. He was taking all of her time, and my mom stopped seeing me as her daughter. Instead, I was just an annoying and unwanted guest. Then I was heating up some pizza in the microwave one day. I pulled it out and went to my room. But 10 minutes later, I heard my stepdad scream, "Fire!" I ran downstairs and saw him spraying the microwave with an extinguisher. The fire was out, but I could see the damage was done. I told her I had already taken out my slice of pizza. I said my stepdad must have put another one in after I left, but he denied everything. I screamed, "You did it! You started the fire! You're trying to make my mom hate me!" But my mom screamed back, "Stop it! You're lying! You left the pizza in the microwave for too long, and now you're trying to blame someone else." I gotta admit, I was starting to wonder, am I going insane, or was this part of my stepdad's evil plan? I knew my stepdad wanted to make me the bad guy, but I was still so naive. I didn't know just how vicious and scheming he was. One time, I secretly listened to their conversation. He wanted to travel with my mom to South America for a month, but she said she had to stay home and take care of me. He responded, "Don't worry, she's old enough to stay alone for a while. Come on, we'd have a lot of fun." Every day, my stepdad manipulated my mom into loving me less. Don't believe me? When I showed her my final report card, she said, "Why can't you be a good daughter and study for school?" I yelled, "I hate school and I hate you. You don't care about me anyway." And she responded, "You have no idea what you've put me through. If it weren't for you constantly causing problems, my life would be so much easier." It was clear to me she wished I was gone. And then I noticed that she was looking more and more tired every day. I asked her, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine, but I have to take my pills now." "Your what?" "They're for my backache. It's been bothering me for years, and your stepdad recommended me to visit a doctor and get some pain pills." "But you look terrible. Those pills aren't helping you." "Stop it. You're too young to understand this." After she took her pills, I read the label. It said oxycodone. I didn't know what that was, so I did an internet search and found out that it was an extremely addictive drug. I was so scared. My stepdad was turning my mom into a lifeless zombie, and I knew why. He was doing it so she wouldn't protect me anymore. And one morning, I woke up and saw that my door and wardrobe were open. How could that happen? I always made sure they were closed and locked. Always. I stood up and walked over to my wardrobe, and my breath stopped. A pair of my underwear was wrinkled. Had I put used underwear in my wardrobe, or had my stepdad done something to it? I broke down. I think I had a panic attack. How did he get into my room? What was he trying to do to me? I couldn't take it anymore, so I went to the police. I told them how my stepdad was drugging up my mom. I told them how someone had touched my underwear. They were worried about me and came to my home. They questioned my stepdad, but they didn't find any evidence. Still, they thought I might not be safe and brought me to a children's home for a while. There, I talked to a psychologist. He asked, "Did your stepdad hurt you in any way?" And I responded, "No, but he's always staring at me with a big grin on his face." After I'd talked to the psychologist for a few days, he told me I had paranoid personality disorder. He said I was only imagining all those things, and I got so angry I screamed, "You're on my stepdad's side? He paid you money so you protect him. I know it!" My first night in the children's home was scary. I was laying inside my bed when I heard someone whispering. I looked around and saw two girls talking to each other while staring at me. My heart started racing. What did they want from me? What were they planning to do to me? I knew I was stronger than them, so I got out of bed and confronted them. I pushed them up against the wall and screamed, "What do you want from me?" The next day, I was told I was too violent to be with the other children. They said I was a danger to them, so they brought me to a psychiatric ward. When I got there, they gave me pills. They said the pills would help me, but I knew better. I knew they were trying to make me as tired and helpless as my mom. Then they could do with my body whatever they wanted. So I refused the medicine and threw it on the ground. They told me to calm down, but when I didn't, they put me in an isolation room and tied me up. I was allowed to leave the room twice a day to go to the toilet. But 3 times a day, a man came into my room to give me pills. I immediately felt the effect. I started sleeping 12 hours a day, and I knew they were doing cruel things to my body while I was asleep. I was upset that I hadn't seen my mom in days. Where was she? Who would give away their daughter to strangers? But after a while, things changed. Suddenly, I felt better, and I stopped thinking that people were trying to hurt me. Maybe the medicine was working after all. When my mom came to see me, she asked me how I was and apologized 100 times for not supporting me more. She took me back to our home, and I even apologized to my stepdad. But a few days later, I noticed there were scratches next to the lock on my door. And just like that, my suspicions were back. So I hadn't been paranoid. My stepdad really did break into my room. I knew I had to get rid of him. So I created a fake profile with his photos on a dating website and then secretly installed the app on his smartphone and told my mom about it. And then they got into a big fight. However, my stepdad said I was the one who installed the dating app. And in the end, my mom believed him. She said, "I'm sorry, but after everything you've done, I can't trust you anymore." I knew I needed to get out of that house. So I called up my biological dad. I hadn't seen him in years, and I wasn't sure he even wanted me. But to my surprise, he agreed to let me move in with him. But life with my dad wasn't any better. He was living in a dangerous neighborhood. Every time I stepped outside, I could feel the men on the street staring at me. I knew why they wanted me. So at age 16, I dropped out of school and got a job at a call center. That's how I could afford to rent my own small room in a safe neighborhood. I hated to leave my home, but at work, I fell in love with a guy. And he even moved in with me shortly after, but it wasn't a good relationship. I knew he was cheating constantly, so I often cried and screamed at him. He suggested we should visit his aunt. She was a psychologist, and maybe she could help us. In the beginning, I didn't trust her. Maybe my stepdad was paying her money too. But now it's been 2 years of her doing psychotherapy with me. It was a slow and painful process, but today I can look back and see how crazy I was acting a few years ago. And maybe my stepdad never tried to hurt me. Maybe he was just trying to be nice. Don't get me wrong though, I'm still suspicious of most people. But in good moments, I can see that my paranoia doesn't make much sense. Please let me know in the comments what you think of my stepdad. Was he trying to hurt me or just being friendly? I mean, I still think he touched my underwear, and if it wasn't for my mom and the police, he would have probably done much worse things. So don't be naive, and don't trust anyone.
Last year, my classmate Clara asked me to come over to her place and help with some homework. I was really excited because I normally wasn't invited anywhere. I'm more the shy and quiet type. Well, I went over to her place, but instead of doing homework, we ended up talking, laughing, and kissing. We had perfect chemistry. And soon we were in an official relationship, with holding hands and stuff like that. I think both of us were quite happy, but there was one problem. Brandon. He was a douchebag and always flirted with Clara. I didn't even care, but Clara always smiled at him and giggled at his stupid jokes. It really made me feel insecure. Everyone thought Brandon was amazing, especially the girls. But I knew he was just a douche who bullied weaker people and disturbed classes. One day, he came over to me and he said, "Be careful, I won't steal your girl. She likes me more than you anyway," and then laughed. I wanted to punch him in his face, but he was stronger than me, so I didn't do anything. But after that, my insecurities grew out of control. I felt like Clara was out of my league, and deserved someone better than me. I decided to break up, but before I could do anything, she sent me a text asking to come over. She said, "We need to talk." I got there and she immediately started crying, telling me she had met with Brandon behind my back, and that they were in a relationship now. It felt like a punch in the gut. Clara had betrayed me with the one person I hated the most. I was so angry I wanted to scream, but I left without saying anything, feeling like a complete loser. My next day in school was the worst. Everyone made fun of me, saying Brandon had stolen my girlfriend. To make things worse, he kissed her in front of the whole class, which made everyone laugh at me even more. But a few months later, the dream couple broke up. Brandon said he had slept with too many other girls, and Clara couldn't take it anymore. Even though I felt like Clara got what she deserved, I still felt bad for her. One, she texted me, "Hey, how are you?" And I desperately wanted to reply, but there was no way I could ever forgive her, so I just blocked her. It was tough, but I think I understand why girls love Brandon so much. He might be a jerk to me, but with the girls he's confident and funny. I'm more the opposite, insecure and boring. But I'm trying to change that now. I'm doing stand-up comedy twice a week, and it really pushes me out of my comfort zone. Sometimes drunk people tell me I suck, but I just laugh it off and continue my set. I actually kinda enjoy being the center of attention, and I've even had a few girls interested in me. It might take a while, but I'm confident I'm gonna find someone who won't cheat on me.